guys, so for today's video I am going to be showing you guys how I prep my nails, as well as showing you how I do my protective layer. I just finished filming my removal process. That video will go up before this one. So by the time this one is out, that one will be up. But yeah, I usually keep a thin layer of clear gel on my natural nails just to protect them, so when I do remove my sets, I'm not damaging my natural nails. It also helps me to know how far down to file, like if I do a different colored gel on top, because I do use hard gel, so I do have to file my nails off, and I can't soak them off like you could if you used a soft gel or acrylic or even some polygels. But anyhow, for this video I'm going to go ahead and show you how I prep my nails to get them to last 4+ weeks. It is not recommended to go longer than 4 weeks in between a fill or doing a whole new set, because the nails get unbalanced, the apex ends up shifting, and that's when you end up getting lifting and can cause damage to your natural nails. And if you have like length to them that goes well beyond the tips of your fingers here, they can end up breaking and all of that. So it's not recommended to go past 4 weeks, but you know, sometimes things happen and you do end up going past it. But the way that I prep, I've been doing the prepping this way for a while now. I do have a previous video where I showed my prep process. I think I have one. I think I did the prep. I know I did removal and filing and application. I don't know if I did prep. But anyhow, I've been doing this process of prepping my nails for a while now. And it works really well for me, and it allows me to wear my nails for at least 4 weeks, or well, at the longest 4 weeks, because like I said, you don't want to go past that. But I have gone past it before, from, you know, like getting sick or being super busy and not being able to take them off in time. So it does last well past 4 weeks, but like I said, we don't want to go past that. So to start off, I just take my cuticle pusher here and I use this side. I never use this side. I think it's like it will scrape up like your cuticle or whatever, but I don't know. I just don't use that side. You can also use a orange wood stick or like one of the wooden cuticle pushers for this as well. If you are using one of the metal ones, you do want to be careful and not apply a whole lot of pressure or really like dig into your nails, because you can damage your nails, and obviously we don't want to do that. So I'm just going to take this and just kind of push all this back right here, and this pushing all this back, your eponychium, I was gonna say a different, anyhow, pushing back the eponychium and like your proximal, oh my gosh, proximal nail fold and all that, just allows you to have more surface here to do nail art, paint the nails, apply, you know, product, whatever to it, and it exposes more of the growth here. So I'm just going to lightly push it back. I'm not pushing super hard, I'm not putting a lot of pressure, but I am just going to go ahead, go through and push this back to expose more of that nail plate there. And then, like I said, this side you can use to like go through and scrape up some of that cuticle that's left behind, but I don't use that side. I feel like it really doesn't do much. Also, if like all of this is kind of tough or it's kind of hard to do this, you can use like that like cuticle remover gel and whatever to soften it up so it is a little easier to push. Like if it's really sticky sorry, I just choked on my spit. If it's really sticky, you can use that and it'll soften it up and make it easier to push that back, or like soak it in some warm water for a few minutes or whatever. I usually don't have an issue with that. Not often I do my right hand on camera, but I figure it's there's not a whole lot going on here. I think if I just do one hand, I don't know. Anyhow, gonna get out my e-file here with this little, I believe this is called the flame bit. Oh my gosh, I cannot talk. The flame bit, I think. This is, I think they call these diamond bits or whatever. This one is very smooth. I do have another one that's a little more coarse that I usually use, but I want to test this one out and see. I never have a problem with the one that's a little more coarse, but I just want to see what this one does. I probably shouldn't. I should actually just stick with, I'm gonna stick with the one that I usually do, because I am prepping my nails for my Coachella set and I don't want my nails popping off at Coachella or getting any lifting at Coachella, because that's just gonna be a disaster. So I'm using this one that is a little bit more coarse, and I am just going to go at 5. I don't recommend going higher than 5 RPM because you are doing this on your natural nail, and we don't want to cause damage to our natural nails, because that also can cause lifting, and I mean, you're just damaging your natural nails, which we don't want. So I don't recommend going over 5. I go at 5 because that's what gets everything off the best for me. If I go any lower than that, it kind of just doesn't do much. So I'm just going around here, kind of open this up a little more, and it also does kind of remove a little bit of the cuticle there that's stuck on the nail plate. And I don't put any pressure on this. I let the bit do all the work. That right there is really sticking down and doesn't want to come up. That's fine, because I'll get that with the what's it called, sanding band here in a minute. Just go around, do this very lightly. This step, from what I understand from watching other nail techs, is mainly to open up this area, like get up under here and open this up more to oh my gosh, to expose more of the nail plate again, so you have more space to add stuff on. It does remove some of the cuticle that's there. You know, that sticky, dried, dead skin that is on the nail plate, which obviously we want to do. But from what I've seen from other techs, it's mainly to open up this here a little more. But also to help remove some everything's sticking to me. Remove some of that. And I did mention this in my removal video, and I've mentioned it here before on my channel. I did go to cosmetology school. I do have my cosmetology license. However, when I went, I was going to learn everything. That's why I chose cosmetology, so I could learn everything. So I did have the opportunity to be able to go into whatever field that I wanted, whether I wanted to focus on hair or skin or nails. I do kind of regret doing that, and wish I would have just went to nail tech school instead and focused mainly on nails. But you know, it is what it is. That being said, with the school that I went to, we only did nails for 8 days. So while I know like the basics and like what's it called? Oh my gosh, I am drawing a blank. I'm for some reason I want to say climate control, but that's not the right. Damage control? It's not damage. Infection. Oh my gosh. Infection control and all of that. Nail diseases, nail, problems and all that. I know all that. I know how to do, I kind of know how to do basic manicure. But we really didn't. A little bit on how to apply acrylic, how to do, paint the nails with gel polish. But we really didn't do much for nails. We didn't work on another human, only on one of those little plastic mannequin fingers, and it was one that was like the fingers bent like this. I'm like, why is it like this? Because when you're doing someone's nails, you don't have them bent like that. Anyhow, so I really didn't. We didn't go in depth on anything. That wasn't the main focus of my course. My middle finger on this hand is always such a disaster. Anyhow, the main focus of my course was doing hair, because that's kind of what they mainly focus on whenever you do cosmetology. But like I said, when you do cosmetology, you do learn hair, skin, and nails, but the school that I went to, it was mainly focused on hair, and then skin was like the second main focus. For hair, we did hair for the entire time, and then for skin, we actually spent 16 weeks doing skin as well as doing hair all at the same time. And then for nails, we only did 8 weeks for nails, which was only 8 days because we only spent 1 day a week in the classroom, and that's when we did the nail stuff, was when we were in the classroom. So yeah, it was really only 8 days. And then for the skin, we would be in, for the first 8 weeks, we were in the classroom 1 day a week, learning skin stuff, practicing on each other and stuff. And then for the second 8 weeks, we were in the spa, taking clients, doing facials and stuff like that. So that was, yeah, it was a little bit annoying that we didn't spend a whole lot of time doing nails. It also wasn't something that was offered in the student salon as something you could get done. But they had a laser program. You could do laser hair removal, tattoo removal. Anyway, all that to say, I've kind of had to teach myself a lot of stuff, especially when it comes to using the e-file. That's why in the removal video, I'm like, when it comes to the forward and reverse, I don't really understand it. I don't know how to do it. I always do everything in the forward setting because that's how it works for me. I've tried doing reverse, doesn't work, doesn't make sense. So I don't necessarily do everything correct. So it is what it is. I don't know what I just dropped. Okay, anyhow, I need to go find a sanding band. Hold on. Okay, so this is a 180 grit sanding band. I know online there is a little controversy on if you should use an e-file and a sanding band to prep your natural nails. Some people say you shouldn't because they were taught through their program used, I think it was like Melody or something like that. And that program, like when that course or whatever, they tell you not to use a sanding band. I learned with Pivot Point, but like I said, we only spent 8 days. We didn't even touch e-files. I mean, our teacher did bring them out, and like we could mess around with them on like our mannequins or whatever, or if you were doing acrylic on yourself, if you wanted to like use it and experiment with it. But really, we didn't touch on it. We didn't learn how to do that. Also, when it came to prep, at the time when I was in school, gel wasn't really as popular as it is now, and it wasn't really being used to sculpt nails and all of that. Polygel was just starting to come out and was being introduced, and people were, starting to use that, but it was still mainly acrylic. And the way we were taught to prep the nails was to push back everything, and then if you have any like hangnails or anything, cut those off, and then apply primer, and then put on your acrylic. There was no like roughing up the surface or anything like that, because really with acrylic you technically don't have to do all that. It does adhere a little better to nails, but yeah, when it comes to gel, you need to do all that. So, I don't know. I use an e-file. It goes a lot faster. Also, I'm like, whether you use an e-file or a hand file, like, it's the same thing. It's also a little bit easier to get up in here around the crevices and everything with the e-file, in my opinion. But, you know, depending on how you were taught or whatever. So I'm also just going to go at 5 again. Like I said, I don't recommend going any higher than that, but yeah, to each their own, I guess. So I'm just gonna go around, and I'm going to at first go around here to remove any leftover cuticle that may be on the nail plate, as well as rough up my natural nail plate here. And again, like I did sorry, sometimes I can't talk and work at the same time. Like I did with the other bit, I am not putting any pressure on it, just letting the bit do all the work. I should have my e-file on because now I'm going over, not my e-file, my dust collector, because now I am going over the part where I do have my hard gel. So my hard gel is like from right here down. On most of the nails. There's a couple that are farther down because of lifting, but I am also going to just go over that as well, even though it is roughed up from removing it. I am just trying to thin out the free edge a little bit because it is still a little bit thick, because it does have leftover like from my nail tip, the plastic from the tips that I use, as well as the gel, my rubber base that I use to apply the tips, as well as any hard gel that is underneath of there from previous protective layers. So it is a little bit thicker, and I am just going to kind of thin that out just a little bit. Rough all that up, even though where the hard gel already is, any gel that I put on top of it will stick to it whether I rough it up or not, because gel sticks to gel. I just want to go through, make sure everything is dusty. I'm just going to do that here on all the nails. And you don't want to keep your file, hand file or e-file, in one spot for too long. It'll end up with a ring of fire, which I gave myself one when I removed it on this nail actually. So if you didn't watch my removal video, you can go watch that if you want to see me give myself a ring of fire on accident, which I have not had one of those in a while. You can see it. Oh, well, no, you can't see it because I'm not in frame. But you can see it there, kind of. That little dark red patch. I'm going over the hard gel here, I should probably have it at a higher speed. But I feel like there's still a little lifting right there. Gotta make sure I remove all of the lifting. I don't want to end up giving myself a greenie. I've done that. I've given myself a greenie one time before. Years ago. And greenies are when you have lifting or if any moisture gets trapped underneath your nail enhancement. The bacteria in there, I believe it's from the poop of the bacteria actually, and it leaves a green spot on your nail. It is not a fungus. I know a lot of people will call it a fungus or whatever. It's not. It's bacteria. And there's also, people say different things about it, like whether you can put anything on top of a greenie or not. We did briefly touch on greenies when I was in school, and I was taught it is fine to put something on top of it, because once it's exposed to like the air, the oxygen, once you remove what's on top of it and expose it to the oxygen, it like dies off. And then you just have to really make sure you dry it out. So like with acetone, alcohol, dehydrator, whatever, really dry it out. Make sure everything is super dry before you put more product on top. And then you can like file it a little bit to try and remove it. It might be kind of deep in there, so you can just let it grow out underneath what you're doing, and or you can, like, you know, try to file it off, buff it off, or whatever. But there are some people that say no, you cannot put anything on top of a greenie. I feel like part of that is because a lot of people do think it's a fungus when it's not. But also, if you don't like take the proper steps and precautions to make sure that it's not going to get worse, it will get worse. But also, a lot of people don't want to put something on top of it so they can monitor it and see it and make sure that it is you know, not getting worse, and it's not like it is fading and growing out and all of that. So I don't know, it's kind of really up to you if you want to put product on top of it or not. And the one time that I did give myself a greenie, I did put product on top of it after I cleaned it off and made sure I dehydrated the nail really well and made sure that, you know, it was super dried out and everything. And it was fine after that. I never got a greenie after that, again after that. But I am putting a little bit of pressure down here on the hard gel area. You can kind of hear, but not a whole lot. Honestly, my main focus with this sanding band is to go around and make sure that there's no dead skin or anything, cuticle, on my nail plate. Now see, this is when you're supposed to put it in reverse and then go this way, I think, with it. But when I do that, I feel like, you know, when you're filing, you can feel like the resistance a little bit, that like, and that's how it's like filing and everything. Whenever I put it in reverse and I do it, it feels like there's no resistance, and it just kind of like slips across the nail, and it goes like I have no control over it. But when I do it this way, which is, you know, technically the wrong way, it works for me at least. So I don't know. Like I said in the removal video, don't ask me about the forward and reverse settings because I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me. I've tried to do it, you know, the way that they say you're supposed to do it, and it just does not work. So I'm gonna stick with doing this how I usually do it, how I always do it. Thankfully, if I do someone else's nails, I don't have to worry, like, do all that. I just do everything with my right hand, which again, there are times when you're doing it with your right hand that you are, or like when you're doing someone else's nails, that you're supposed to put it in reverse and go the other way. I don't do that because I don't know. It just does not work. I really should have. Got my dust collector. I'll just dust it off a little bit. That didn't really do much, but okay. And now I'm like getting ahead of myself a little bit here. I was trying to move on to dehydrating, but first I want to take these little scissors that I have here. I use these scissors. You can use cuticle nippers. The cuticle nippers that I have are really dull and they don't work. Also, I feel like when they did work, I didn't like using them. I felt like it was pulling too much whenever I would use them. So I do prefer the scissors because it actually cuts. They have cured on gel on that. So I'm just gonna go through. I'm not gonna do a whole lot of cutting because I really don't need to. I usually don't need to, and you don't. this part you can skip if you want to, and if you are afraid of doing it, I definitely would skip, because if you're afraid of doing it, then you're more than likely going to hurt yourself. But really, this part you just want to cut off any dead skin that you see. I know in like videos and on TikTok and Instagram, you'll see them cut like all the way around. There's also like controversy around that, because it's like, are you cutting, you know, you're not supposed to cut the eponychium or your proximal nail fold, because that's living tissue, and you're not supposed to cut living tissue. I can't speak for other places, but I know here in Arizona, unless things have changed, I haven't kept up with all that, but when I was in school, it was, I mean, it probably still is the same, illegal for a nail tech to cut living tissue, because that's like infection, introducing infection and stuff, and like I think they considered it like a medical procedure or whatever, which obviously if you're a nail tech, you're not licensed to do medical procedures unless you like have anyhow, nail techs aren't supposed to do all that, and it was illegal. So if you did do that, you weren't supposed to be. Anyhow, so that's why I don't really cut much, and also, I mean, there's really not a whole lot for me to cut anyways, but I don't know if you can see here on the pinky, like this little spot right here, I do want to just kind of snip that little bit there, because really if you don't, those can turn into hangnails, and if you've ever had a hangnail, you know that is like one of the worst things ever. Then there's right here, I'm just going to snip that little bit off. I'm going to leave all that. Also, if you do cut off too much, it will actually grow back thicker and be more stubborn to like get rid of, because it is like your body's way of protecting itself from infection. So if you find that this part is a lot thicker than what it once used to be, scale back on cutting anything off. Maybe even don't cut anything off for a while, and it'll, you know, fix itself and go back to being thin and all of that. So like I said, I'm just trying to, most nails I don't really have to do anything on. But there are some that I gotta do quite a bit. And you can see I'm barely cutting anything off anymore, and yeah, I definitely would be cutting into the live tissue here and then be bleeding for 12 days. Not really, but for some reason your fingers, all the tiny blood vessels and everything, your fingers bleed for so long if you cut them. The amount of times I cut myself and I'm cutting people's hair, oh my god. The worst cut I ever did was with my texturizing shears, actually. Ugh. I think I only cut, I don't know, I've cut myself a few times when I was doing people's hair or cutting people's hair. And yeah, the worst was with the texturizing shears. But you wouldn't think it would be, because it's like the little jagged teeth and it's not just the straight line like a normal, like the normal shears are. Ugh, bled for so long. Wouldn't stop. Bled through the band-aid. Okay, anyhow. This video is going to be a lot longer than I wanted it to be. Oh well, that's fine. Lots of information. And you guys get to watch me go through and do everything. When it comes to prep, I'm very, like, meticulous about it. And I will spend a long time on prep. Probably longer than, you know, a salon would like you to do, or how long you should do in a professional setting. But prep is super important because that sets the foundation of whatever you're doing, and that's going to determine, you know, if you're going to experience any lifting. So I'm just taking a lint-free wipe here and some alcohol. I am tapping it on because these lint-free wipes are kind of awful. They leave behind lint. Like, it rips up on the nail and will stick to the nail. So I just kind of, when I'm doing my natural nails, I just kind of tap it because of all the, like, ridges and everything from filing it and all that, and I don't want it to snag. I hate these lint-free wipes. Do not recommend. Got them from Amazon. I got them because they were in a pack of more than the ones that I were getting before this. Like, it came with more of the wipes, and I was like, oh, that's gonna be so much better. I don't have to buy these wipes as much. But they're kind of awful, so don't buy these. I'm not even gonna link them because they're kind of awful. So you can see, just doing that, like, really dried out my nails, and you can see, like, you want your nails to look super crusty and dusty, like your natural nails. If you have any product left over, like, that part's not gonna do the same as your natural nails, but that was a lot. Okay, now for me personally, I do have very oily nails, so it takes a little bit more work and effort to make sure that I don't experience lifting, because your natural oils do cause lifting on your nails as well. So if you're like me and have very oily nails and experience lifting, and you know, follow the basic prep steps that everyone tells you, and you're still experiencing lifting, and you know you have oily nails or whatever, what I do after I go in with the alcohol, I will go in with the acetone, do the same thing. If I wasn't using these ones, I would just swipe it and be fine. Like, but I have to press them, I have to push it because, see, it gets stuck. Anyhow, go in with acetone, dry everything out even more. Also make sure you remove all of the dust off of your nail. So we're just gonna dry those out even more. Make sure we're removing all oils off of our nails. And then for even more, I go in with a dehydrator. Because like I said, I have very oily nails. It actually took me a while to figure out, because when I would do my own nails, I've been doing my nails since middle school, and for most of the time I couldn't do any kind of enhancements. I couldn't put acrylic on my nails. I couldn't really do polygel. I couldn't, well, I wasn't doing gel, but yeah, I could, but it wouldn't stay. I was always getting lifting. The nails were always popping off, and I didn't know why until I went to school and I learned, you know, oily nail beds, oily nail plates, all that. Some people are more oily than others. Apparently I am. So when I learned that, I learned I have to take some extra steps to make sure that everything is completely dried out. Make sure that I have absolutely no oils left on the nail plate before I go in and apply anything on them, whether it's just regular polish going on the nail, gel polish going on the nail, hard gel, soft gel, acrylic, poly gel. If you are extra oily, you gotta take some extra steps. And I do use the Saviland one. It works for me. It's not gonna work for everyone. You know, everyone is different. Everyone's nails are going to react differently, your body chemistry, all of that. This works really well for me, and it has been for years. Before this, I was using the Model 1's prep and dehydrator and primer. Even after figuring out the whole, like, being extra oily and taking all these extra steps to make sure that I'm dehydrating the nails really well, the Model 1's dehydrator and primer did not work at all for me. I was still popping it, everything was still popping off. Not as bad, because I was doing the extra steps to dry everything out, but it still wasn't great. I was still getting lifting every single time. Even some of the nails would still even pop off. Mainly I was getting lifting really bad. I wasn't really having an issue with them popping off as much anymore, but then I switched over to Saviland. Actually, they sent it to me to test out one time, and I've been using it ever since then. Like I said, it works really well for me. This is the non-acid pH bond, which is just the primer. There are acid primers, which some people do need the acid to help even more with adhesion. So if you are still experiencing lifting, nails popping off and all that, and you're like, why is this happening? Try a different brand of primer. Maybe even try like an acid primer, because that might work better for you. I don't have any like brand recommendations or anything for all that, because like I said, I've been using Saviland for years and it's been working really well for me. So I don't plan on switching anytime soon. I'm not going to put that on this hand just yet, because it is kind of sticky and I don't want anything sticking to that. Now I'm going in with my rubber base coat from LGN. You can use, you know, whatever base coats you want. I just really like this one. This is the old bottle. I need to grab the new one. Anyhow, I'm just going to go ahead and apply a thin layer of this. I am going to apply it to the entire nail, but I really want to make sure that it's on my natural nail that has grown out. You could skip putting it on like where the old product is, if you still have old product on your nail. Like I said, I do have hard gel on a good chunk of my nails because I always just have this protective hard gel layer on. So I don't really have to apply to that because it will stick, the new hard gel that I'm putting on. But it's just easier with how short my nails are to apply to the entire nail. I'm going to cure that for 60 seconds. Okay, so now I'm taking the LGNPRO Crystal Clear Hard Gel. This is what I always use. I really love it. I've used the IBD Hard Builder Gel. Hated that. It was super sticky, super runny. Awful. And then I did start using the Saviland Builder Gel, which I'm pretty sure is actually a soft gel, because it is a soft gel because it soaks off. If the gel soaks off, it's a soft gel. If it doesn't soak off, it's a hard gel. So technically I wasn't supposed to be using the Saviland one to sculpt out my extra long nails that I do, but that is what I was using for a while, and it's decent. It's all right. I really like the LGN hard gels. And then I'm using the oval number 6 brush from LGN. This is a new one. It's the gold one. I just bought it recently because the one that I was using previously was at the end of its life. So now I'm just going to take just a tiny, you can't even see what I'm doing. I'm just going to kind of dip my brush here on the edge of the jar and get just a tiny bit. That actually might be too much. Okay, just a little bit, because I'm doing this on my natural nails. There's not a whole lot going on here. Gave myself a ring of fire on the pinky too, and I didn't even know it until now. Anyhow, I'm just going to brush that on. This is my slip layer, which is going to make it easier to apply the gel here in a minute. And I'm making sure to get nice and close up here, not touching the skin, because we don't want to develop acrylate allergies. But just smoothing that all down the nail, and then going to take a little bit more, just a little bit, not a lot. Don't need a lot because my natural nails are tiny. And then I'm just going to float that on here. Also, I don't want to do like a super thick layer of this because this is just meant to be a protective layer that goes on to keep my natural nails safe and protected from everything that I do when it comes to like filming. I don't change my nails often like other people do who do nail content, but I do take them off and do a completely new set every month, and I don't want to damage them when I do remove. And I'm not trying to make sure you don't end up flooding like I just did there. That was great. I'm not worrying about an apex or anything. These nails they don't even like extend past the tip of my nail, really. There's no need for an apex. So they're staying super flat. Also, stuff's going on top of them, so I don't want the apex there. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to only cure it for 30 seconds instead of curing each nail individually for 60. So I'm going to go ahead and cure this for 30 seconds. And that is now cured enough to where it's going to stay in place, and I can do the rest of the nails. Usually when I'm doing this off camera, I will do all 4 of these nails all at the same time and then do my thumb separate, but on camera here I wanted to show you this one first, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and do the rest of these 3 here real quick. So I'm just gonna do the same thing, get just a little bit, do my slip layer. And the slip layer, you do want to apply it to the entire nail, unlike the base coat where you really just have to focus it on your natural nail. The slip layer goes on the entire nail because it makes it easier to apply the gel when you like go to do like the actual application. I mean, this is the actual application, but you get what I'm saying. If you're not comfortable doing multiple nails at once and you're worried about flooding and all of that, you can do each nail individually. Like I said, I've been doing this for a while, so I'm pretty comfortable with, you know, doing it this way and doing them all at the same time. Also, they're really short. There's not a whole lot going on here. Whenever I do like add the extensions on and do my extra long nails, I do them one at a time, otherwise we're gonna have a ton of flooding. But because these are short, they go quick and easy. I don't need to worry about all that. Now I'm gonna cure for the full 60 so they can get completely cured. Now to do the thumb. I'm going to cure that for 60 seconds. Now I'm going to wipe them all off with some alcohol to remove that sticky layer so I can see, that's what I mean. So I can do my other hand without getting all the anything, you know, stuck in them. Lint or hair, cat hair, always cat hair. to just wipe them all off one more time. And then that's gonna be it for this. If you are just going with this, then file them and buff them and whatever. I'm not going to do that in this video, because in the next video where I do like all my application and everything, I will just go ahead and buff them in that video, which that one won't get filmed for a couple days because I have about 100 things to do still. I think I mentioned it earlier in this video, and I can't remember. But I am going to Coachella and prepping my nails, getting them ready so I can do my Coachella nails, but I don't want to do them today. I have like 5 days or something to get them done. But I also have a bunch of other stuff that I gotta do in order to prep for Coachella. I need to finish buying some last minute stuff. I need to do my mom's nails, maybe do my sister's nails. I don't know if she wants me to. My other sister doesn't want me to do her nails. She's just gonna paint them herself. Yeah, do my mom's nails, maybe do my one sister's nails. I need to dye my mom's hair, or like do a retouch up on her hair. I need to re-dye my hair. Well, I root touch up and re-dye, do the bottom half of the red. Anyhow, gotta dye hair, gotta pack, gotta get last minute stuff. Now I gotta do my nails, and I don't want to do all that other stuff and potentially mess up my nails, so my nails are gonna get done last minute. So I'm just leaving them like this. This is what they look like. They honestly don't look that bad. They could use some refining, like on the free edge. I could file that a little bit, buff out the surface a little bit to smooth them out. However, like I said, I'm not doing that because I'll just do that in the next video. But if you are leaving them like this, I would, file them, refine the shape a little bit here at the free edge, buff them out to smooth out the surface, even though it's not too bad. Sometimes it can be a little lumpy, but this time it's not too bad. But this is what they look like. This is my protective layer that I do. This could, it's basically just an overlay, so like you could paint over them if you want to do nail art or whatever on top of here, and just have this be an overlay as a protective layer for your natural nails. So if you do have thin nails or you're trying to grow them out or whatever, like this is what you can do for that. But like I said, I do have them. Look how crooked my pointer nails are. Both of them, they're both super crooked. My right one is way more crooked than my left one. Anyhow, what was I saying? Yeah, this is my protective layer to keep my natural nails nice and healthy as I, film nail content and stuff, and like have to remove them every month. But yeah, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.